All right, B'siyata Dishmaya, we're here in Shar Yichud with a brand new series on Halacha. For this Halacha class series, we will be focusing on the book of Halachot called the Yalkut Yosef. Yalkut Yosef was started by Rav Ovadia Yosef and then continued by his son, the former chief rabbi of Israel, Rav Yitzchak Yosef, who just finished his position. And what it is basically is a leket. Yalkut means leket, a gathering. The gathering of Yosef. What is it? A gathering of different halachot, but not learning halacha classically where you have a ruling and you try to find out all the different ways to get to that. It does include that. But there's also an abridged version, a kitzur version, where it's just one-liners, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, without all of the inner learnings of it. So it's very good to learn bottom line halacha, what am I expected to do in a situation, or what is the opinion on this thing, what is the ruling in a situation. Yalkut Yosef is a very good source, and a lot of times he does bring the Ashkenazim poskim, the different poskim of different people within Am Yisrael that are not necessarily Sephardi, and from that, even an Ashkenazi person or a Chassid could read Yalkut Yosef and not obviously 100% live by it, but in the sense of learning, it's very good too. So we are starting with the halachot of Birkot HaShahar. In Shulchan Aruch, it's Siman Mem Vav 46, the 46th Siman of Shulchan Aruch, and the blessings of the morning. So it starts like this: Ma tov u'ma na'im im yochal amod shelo yidaber shum davar. How good would it be for a person to adopt a habit to avoid all conversation when they wake up until after they recite the morning blessings? That would be a very blessed thing. That is the beginning of his speech, right? His first words that he uses in the morning are blessings to the Creator for restoring his soul to his body, right? And so on and so forth. Ideally, the halacha sets it up. First words out of your mouth are Modeani, thank you Hashem for having emunah in me and bringing back my neshama to give me another opportunity in this life, in this day. And then a series of blessings that I promise you as we get deeper into these classes and learning these morning blessings, you're going to see that the whole entire world is dependent on these morning blessings, and they explain the deepest Kabbalistic principles that we're saying over in a blessing every morning, but it's a beautiful ideas that we're going to get into. That's the first halacha. Second halacha, there we go. I already get into the Kabbalah straight away as soon as we mentioned it. If someone postpones reciting the morning blessings, he enables the forces of evil to latch on to the highest spiritual realms of his soul. Pretty scary. וכל הזריז ומקדים לברך ברכות השחר וכל מה שאפשר לו, הרי זה משובח ומשתכר שלא יתאחזו הקליפות בחלקי נשמתו. One should make sure to recite the blessings as early as possible to avoid unfortunate consequences and having this attachment of negative forces come over you. What is another way to explain these negative forces? Obviously, there's ways that fear could come to a person throughout his day, right? Lack of self-esteem, doubts, right? And also, or overindulgence in this world, putting too much importance to a certain person that did something to you instead of realizing that it was Hashem, making you forget about Hashem. Basically saying, if you don't wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is be conscious of God and bless God for the whole entire world and for you coming back to life again, you're setting up the rest of your day to continue in that way of focusing on this world and that I'm tired and I'm groggy, or talking to that person because the conversation can't wait. Put God first thing in your head. A lot of things in halacha we're going to see are really just notifications from God. Hey, connect, pay attention. And put your shoe on this way and not that way. Why? Because, right? A lot of things are like this. It's Shabbat, so we don't do that. Why not? Because it's Shabbat. Why? Because on Shabbat we stay conscious of God and we don't do things that are, even if it's not necessarily completely against halacha, there's certain things that we say, no, we don't do that. Right? And it's as if it's halacha. It's like such a minhag in Am Yisrael that it's like it's halacha, right? Why? These are little things that are always constant reminders of alicha, to walk with God. Third halacha, lo yamar birkot hashachar ba'od shu lovesh begadav, ki ein la'asot af davar kal be'odo mevarech. You should not make these blessings. It's forbidden to recite the morning blessings while you're getting dressed. Since it's forbidden to engage in any activity while reciting any blessing. When you're making a bracha, you should be focused on the bracha. right? I always like to say, meditations in Judaism, where do you want to start? Blessings. You're about to eat an apple, contemplate, blessed are you God, King of the universe, right? Who you were able to bring out the fruit of the tree, right? So this idea of making a blessing, what are you doing? You're allowing the sparks that are inside the food to be of Hashem, for you to engage with them. It's a meditation. The more we're conscious of what we're doing, so we can, if that's what it is, really at its core, and that's what it is. It really is. That's what it is. It's a bracha, is a meditative process, a contemplation, and a connection with Hashem to bring down sustenance and vitality through the things that we engage with and enjoy in this world. If that's the case, then you can't be busy doing something else. So don't be getting dressed while you're doing Birkot HaShahar. Don't do anything. No matter how insignificant that activity is, you can't be involved with it, right? Oh, I can still focus on the blessing while putting on a shirt. No, it doesn't matter. Don't do it. Likewise, one must not walk to and fro while reciting the blessings. That might be a little bit harder for some people, right? Rather, one must sit or stand in one place and concentrate on the words of the blessing, preferably while reading the words from a siddur, from a prayer book. In fact, it is commendable to use a prayer book for all of the prayers from the beginning to the end. I personally struggle in the Amidah to do that, but it's definitely a good thing, at least to have it in front of you. The Kaf HaChaim, Chaim Palachi, he gave a stern warning explaining that it is forbidden to engage in any activity while reciting the morning blessings. At least 3 or 4 minutes should be spent to recite them all, and people must avoid the temptation to rush through them. The Torah Zahav and other Achronim commenting on the Shulchan Aruch warn that anyone who gives this halakha, who ignores this halakha and continues to engage in other activities while reciting blessings, is guilty of treating the worship of God haphazardly, as if it is unimportant. Really, that's what it goes on to everything. This goes into so much more. Do you talk in shul? Do you have conversations in shul? Do you pull out your phone and all these things, right? And we all do. We all fall in these things sometimes. We all get distracted sometimes. But again, it's how much are you conscious of what you're engaging in right now. If you're in a shul, if you're in a Beit Midrash, you are right now with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're amongst the Shekhinah. You're in a holy place. There's a different attitude you're meant to have, right? There's one attitude in the bar at the party, and there's another attitude in the Beit Midrash. They're not meant to be the same. You're not supposed to act the same way in both. You don't change as a person, right? It doesn't mean you're fake. It doesn't mean, no, but like you don't treat your parents like you treat your friends or your children, right? Your parents are your parents. They're not your children, right? So like same thing. There's certain situations in life where we have to be more conscious of what's going on. Next halacha. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, we did it. Next halacha. What's the right way to make these blessings? Kodem שיתחיל לברך ברכות השחר יקבל עליו לברך עוד בעוד תיבה בתיבה. Before you even start to make the blessing, one should be determined and make a decision that I'm going to say every single word one by one. I'm going to pronounce each letter properly, right? And you should contemplate in the awe of his creator and how much we ought to feel love for him. You have to, again, it's a meditative process. And here it is. People want to learn Kabbalah and want to learn deep things. Here it is in halacha. Halacha is giving you, all we've said so far is all one big meditation. We haven't even said a word yet. He should feel joyous for the very opportunity to recite these blessings. With the proper attitude, he will surely recite the blessings in the proper manner. And for sure, in all of the brachot, we have a chiyuv, we have an obligation to bless them with intention. You should be shaking with the privilege that you have to come and bless the King, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. אבל יותר יגדל החיוב בברכות השחר כדי שייכנס בכי טוב, כדי שיצא בכי טוב. ולא יהיה זה ראשון לחשבון עוונות של היום. The best thing though is let's start your day properly. You want to begin your day? Let's start it on the right foot. Don't start it with the sin of carelessly reciting these blessings. It's the first thing you're doing in your day. Start it properly. take an opportunity. You want to be successful in life? You want to have a better day spiritually and physically? I'm talking to myself as well right now, specifically to myself even. Take the time to say these blessings properly. It is the first thing that you're meant to be doing when you open your eyes. It's the first thing that you're meant to be doing after you get dressed, obviously, right? The first words that are meant to come out of your mouth, say them with intention, say them with your heart. Be real. Believe that you're blessing HaKadosh Baruch Hu and you're saying thank you for everything that's going on in the world. Like the Chachamim taught us in Pirkei Avot. One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. Right? And the opposite is also true. Right? So if you start off on the wrong foot and you don't really put your all inside these blessings, maybe your shacharit might be the same way as well. Right? So that's the fear here. So we should all adopt the habit of reciting these blessings while reading the words from a siddur or with your eyes shut. If you're not in the siddur, your eyes are closed so that you don't lose consciousness. Again, this is a meditation. So if you have the help of the holy Hebrew letters in front of you, Baruch Hashem, that's the best way. Some of us, we need to close our eyes at certain points to really focus so that you don't have the siddur, but that doesn't mean that because you're not looking at the siddur and you can start now looking around and focusing on other things with your eyes. You have to be completely focused in your mind on making these blessings to Hashem. And just to mention, the Yanuka, I saw a video of him not too long ago, Rav Shlomo Yehuda. He said, if a Baal Tshuva wants to know what he should focus on, what are the first things that a person that's trying to come to connect to Hashem, what should he focus on? He said blessings. If you're trying to connect to Hashem, one of the main things that you could be focusing on is making blessings. So you got to try to avoid being distracted by other things. It's also a good idea for everyone to read a copy of these instructions in the language which he's most familiar with from beginning to recite the morning blessings. This way, you'll be inspired to recite the blessings with a proper degree of concentration. When it comes to battling one's old habits, it's always good to seek effective strategies, like the verse in Mishle says, Ki b'tachbulot ta'aseh lecha milchama. Using strategies, you will succeed in battle. Right? You have to have a plan, some kind of plan, right, to improve your ways. By being proactive, we can successfully avoid sin or failure. Right? So this is not something that's going to happen if you don't read Halachot, if you don't know what you're saying, if you don't find the meaning behind these blessings that we're going to be saying. And that's B'ezrat Hashem, what we're going to try to clarify here in this series of shiurim on this halakha. What is the depth behind each of these blessings? And this halakha book gets to these things. We're going to be talking about very deep things from the Rashash, from the Arizal, from the Ben Ish Chai, right? Many different tzaddikim that bring down a lot of gems on what are these blessings that we take as a given, like he's been stressing us not to do. And obviously, when you're careful and you're quick with things, then everything you're doing is much more complete, right? When you're able to really be rooted in something and you understand it and you understand the importance of it and the depth and the gems behind it, it's going to be done more properly. So, what is the first blessing we make? Al netilat yadayim. Right? Every single day after you wake up from your bed, you have to wash your hands with water from a vessel. And before you wipe your hands, right, you wash once to the right, once to the left, right, left, right, left. And before you wipe your hands, you say the blessing, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddishanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Al Netilat Yadayim. Right? The blessing is, may you be blessed, God our Master, King of the universe, who sanctified us with the mitzvot and commanded us regarding Netilat Yadayim. That's the blessing that we make, right? This is true even if someone soiled his hands while in the restroom and needed to... I skipped to the Yeshayat already. That was, okay, so that's the first blessing that we make is Netilat Yadayim. We're going to talk more about this mitzvah in a different part of this series. But for now, obviously, when we go to sleep, there is a lack of potential that happens in our body, which lack of potential is probably the most accurate translation that you have for tuma, because tuma does not necessarily mean impurity, impurity means that you have a lack of potential to serve in the temple, right? That's what tuma is. A lack of the ability of sanctity to dwell on a thing, of an object or a person. So when we go through sleep, it's 1/60th of death. The neshama leaves the body. So now when it's coming back into the body, we have to wash off the extremities of our body, which is where the soul comes in and out from, and remove all of that lack of potential to be able to actualize the potential that we just received back, which was our neshama coming back completely into our body as much as it does for each person, right? So this blessing, obviously that's what we're doing. This act of washing our hands is to remove all of the ruach hara, the negative spirit that had dwelt upon us while less of our neshama was inside of us. And now that it's back, we're preparing our body to be able to hold this lofty light that just came down. Asher yatzar, the next blessing. Asher yatzar is the blessing that we make for going to the bathroom, right? And here he's not going to go into what is the whole entire blessing, but he starts with an halacha like this. After you go to the bathroom, you make this blessing, Asher yatzar, v'af haniyur kol halayla, even if a person who was up all night. Right? By the way, I don't know why he didn't say it, but netilat yadayim, if you were up all night, you don't say it. It's the only blessing out of Birkot HaShahar that you do not say. If you were up all night long, you do not do netilat yadayim. Since you didn't go to sleep, you didn't lack the neshama, there's nothing to bless over it, right? But if you go to the bathroom, here he says, even if someone did not sleep at all during the night, as is often the case in Shavuot or Hoshana Rabbah, he must perform the mitzvah of netilat yadayim after dawn, but without reciting the blessing of netilat yadayim. Right? So you wash your hands after dawn, but you don't make a blessing on netilat yadayim because you're not really doing the ikar of the mitzvah, which was to purify yourself. This is true even if someone soiled his hands while in the restroom and needed to cleanse them before beginning shacharit. Right? If a person goes to the bathroom and their hands get dirty, you can't go straight into prayer. You have to use a cup. You can't just wash your hands with soap in the bathroom and then go to the shul or go pray. If you wash your hands in the bathroom, you still have to wash your hands again with a vessel when you get out of the bathroom before going to engage with prayer. This is before prayer and before holy things. I'm pretty sure Rabbi Ovadia says in a different place that if you just go to the bathroom and you're going back to your job, you don't have to go use a vessel. But when it comes to prayer and when it comes to different things like that, you have to wash your hands properly, which means with a vessel. Although there are poskim who ruled that one must recite the blessing of al netilat yadayim in such a case, the practice of Sephardic Jews is not to recite the blessing. This was explained in Yalkut Yosef in a different place. The wisdom contained inside Asher yatzar. We recite this blessing after each time we relieve ourselves of our body's waste products. The blessing of Asher yatzar was composed and instituted by Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, the men of the Great Assembly, which had inside of them prophets, right? And it wasn't just a bunch of rabbis. It was the first beginning of the leaders of the generations. Inside of them were people that had prophecy and connection to Hashem on a much higher level. And they put these words together in such a manner that it expresses sublime concepts beyond our capability to understand. For an inkling of the wisdom contained in this blessing, we'll learn it a little bit later in a different place, B'ezrat Hashem. But there's a lot there, right? There's Pele, there's the word wonder, which connects to Aleph, which connects to Hashem. Birth is connected to the fact that our body is essentially a sack, and it has cavities, but it doesn't deflate, and it stays perfectly working, everything. And if it were to get messed up, it doesn't make any sense that we should be able to survive. But the system keeps working all the time. Anybody who's worked in a company, who's worked inside a business or worked inside a factory knows that to have 60, 70, 80, 90 years, 100 years of a working machine, well-oiled automatically, everything taken care of on autopilot. All you have to do is put a little bit of fuel in it, right? Spiritual and physical, and it's going to work for you for many, many, many years and be able to do amazing things intellectually and physically. They still haven't created one machine like that in the world ever, right? So it really is a wonder that Hashem does all of this for us to be able to exist in this world. Right after Asher Yatzar, we have the blessing Elohai Neshama. Mi'ikar Adin, meaning from really the letter of the law, we don't have to really make these two put together. Although we say it, that's the way you do say it. You say Asher Yatzar in the morning, right? In the morning, and then you start straight away, Elohai Neshama. But he says here, from Mi'ikar Adin, technically there's no halachic obligation to recite the blessing of Elohai Neshama immediately after Asher Yatzar. These two blessings are not considered a set. He's just distinguishing that. Although the blessing of Elohai Neshama does not begin with the regular preface of Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, this is because it belongs in the category of Birkot Hoda'ah. Birkot Hoda'ah are blessings of thanksgiving. And they're in their own category that they don't follow the regular, what's called Matbe'a Baracha, the format of the blessing, right? Even so, it is commendable to recite this blessing immediately following Asher Yatzar, if possible. So although you don't have to, they are two separate blessings. Since it doesn't start with a Baruch Atah, and Asher Yatzar ends in a way that you could connect them, so then it's better to connect it. This is because there are poskim who rule that it is necessary to recite them together without interruption. The rules regarding this blessing can be found in a different place as well, right? So since there are poskim that say they are connected, we always should aspire to check as many boxes of poskim as possible, to cover as many opinions, to make sure we're doing the mitzvah in the finest way possible. So since there are poskim that say that they are together, even though the letter of the law technically says not, once they say something like that, we try to do it. So be conscious that when you go and you leave the bathroom, when you wash your hands, you say Asher Yatzar and Elohai Neshama together. B'ezrat Hashem. So now different rules in Birkot HaShahar, defining the obligation. According to Shulchan Aruch, the obligation to recite any of the morning blessing applies only if on that morning the person has experienced the gift for which the blessing describes and gives thanks for it. Very, very interesting rule, because no one in Am Yisrael goes according to this. It's one of the Shulchan Aruch rulings that no one goes by. He says you only say the blessing if you experience the thing. For example, if someone did not hear a rooster crow in the morning, he may not recite the blessing of Hanoten L'Sechvi Bina. And if he does not wear a belt, then he can't make Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura. The universal custom, however, follows the opinion that every person is obligated to recite all the morning blessings, whether or not he experiences what the blessing describes. Therefore, even if someone did not hear a rooster crow and did not get dressed in the morning, he still recites the entire set of morning blessings. This practice is based on the ruling that these blessings are not expressions of thanks for individual experiences, but rather they are expressions thanking God for the good things that He provided in the world in general. Since this practice has been established as the universal custom, the principle of Safek Brachot Lakel is overruled. We have a principle, right, that we don't, when we're in doubt whether we're meant to make a blessing or not, we go lenient and we don't say the blessing. Why? Because to put that format of a blessing into effect into the world, like we said, it's a meditation, it's a powerful thing, that you're changing reality. You're bringing down sparks, you're bringing down energy, you're allowing things, you're causing worlds to change. So you can't just say blessings whenever you feel. You could say a blessing to Hashem, but you can't say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam when you're not meant to say it, when you don't know if you should say it, or for no reason, right? Or not knowing which one you're meant to say, right? You pick up a fruit from the tree, and really it's a piece of bread, not the same blessing. Don't just run to say any blessing. No, find out what the right one is, because you're activating certain energies in the world. Here, since there's the minhag of everybody says all of the blessings, no matter if you went through it or not, since that is so strong as a minhag, as a custom in the Jewish people, it overrules the principle of if you're in doubt whether to say a blessing or not, don't say it. Right? It outweighs that. There's a lot of footnotes right now. Do we want to dive deep? Let's see if it's... The Talmud teaches, it's important to understand this part at least. The Talmud teaches, why is this such a thing? How does the Shulchan Aruch come to say, if you don't put a belt on, you can't make the blessing, right? It sounds to us that we're all accustomed to saying all the blessings, like, what are you doing? What do you mean, I need to put a belt on in order to say that? I have to put my shoes on, I have to hear a rooster, right? But where does he get it from? From the Talmud. The Talmud in Gemara in Birkot teaches, when someone hears a rooster crow, he recites the blessing, Baruch Hashem Natan L'Sechvi Vina. When he opens his eyes, demonstrating that he can see, he recites Baruch Pokech Ivrim. When he sits up, demonstrating that he can move his body, he recites Baruch Matir Asur. When he stands up, demonstrating that he can balance on his feet, he recites Baruch Zokef Kufufim. When he steps on the ground, he says Baruch Hokah Haratz Ramayim. When he begins to walk about, he recites Baruch Mechin Mitzad Gaver. When he puts on his shoes, he recites Baruch Shasali Kol Tzoki. When he fastens his belt around his waist, he recites Baruch Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura. When he wraps his turban onto his head, he recites Baruch Oter Yisrael B'Tifara. The Rambam interpreted this passage literally and ruled that each person becomes obligated to recite each of these blessings upon experiencing the gift for which the blessing gives thanks. So the Shulchan Aruch is pulling from the Rambam, one of the three rabbis that he based everything off of, right? Three rabbis, the Tur, the Rosh, and the Rambam, right? That's the Beit Din of the Beit Yosef. Whenever there's a machloket, 2 against 3. The Rambam here, clearly someone else was with him, that these are literal. These 18 blessings have no particular order. Each person recites a blessing when he experiences what the blessing describes. If he does not experience it, he does not recite the blessing. For example, if someone slept through the night while fully dressed, he does not recite the blessings of Malbisha Umim when he gets up in the morning. If he walks about barefoot, he does not recite the blessing of Shasali Kol Tzoki. The other two, Rabbeinu Asher and the Aruba Turim, actually disagreed with the Rambam when it came to the blessing of Noten Sechvi, the blessing of the rooster. They explained that everyone must recite this blessing, even if he did not hear a rooster crow. The interpretation of the word sechvi in this blessing, they argued, is not a rooster, but rather it is the intelligence God gave us, enabling us to distinguish between day and night. Regarding the other blessings which express our thanks to God for specific benefits He gave us, they agreed with the Rambam that a person is obligated to recite the blessing only if and when he experiences the benefit on this day. So they all did agree, except for one blessing, where is a literal, literature, what's the word? A linguistics thing, where what does sechvi mean? Does sechvi mean a rooster, or does sechvi mean the spirituality and the intelligence that you got to make a differentiation between night and day? Is it talking about us, or is it talking about the rooster? They held that it's talking about the rooster. Rambam held, that it's talking about the intelligence that Hashem gave you, and Rambam held that it's talking about the rooster. Okay. Standing or seating? 2 more halachot and we're going to stop. Birkot HaShahar v'chen Birkot Torah en tzorech lamod. When it comes to the Birkot HaShahar or to the blessings of the Torah, meaning what we call Birkot HaShahar, right? You have no obligation to stand. You can say them while it is seated, and this is the custom of Sephardic Jews, right? Sephardim Dafka sit while saying the blessings. Last halacha for today, reciting the blessings in the synagogue. Some people have the practice of waiting to recite the morning blessings until they arrive at the synagogue. Rav Yitzchak does this. The practice of the Arizal, however, was to recite all 18 blessings in his home as soon as he got up from bed before going to shul. This is the custom of Sephardic Jews as well. Pshat Sephardim, what do? Wash your hands, get dressed, say all of the blessings, go to shul. The cantor does not recite the morning blessings in the synagogue. Each person should recite all the morning blessings in the same location where he recites the blessings of Al Netilat Yadayim. Maran Rishon LeZion of Rav Ovadia Yosef followed this formula in practice, and he recited all the morning blessings, including the blessings of the mitzvah of Torah study, immediately after performing Netilat Yadayim in the morning, before he put on his talit and his tefillin. And with that, we are stopping our new series on halacha and the halachot of Birkot HaShahar.